Hi, I'm Brent, and this is going to be a quick video on layering highlights onto models. In this case, it's going to be Lizardmen again, my Saurus warriors here, and I'm going to be layering on Qucik green onto their skin, not their scales, because I've already done their scales for any fans who have been watching those. And good news, I'm going to be clipping the webcam to my lamp, so there's not going to be any more shaky, crappy camera work. It's going to work a lot better. You've got to have the light source, you're going to be steady, you're going to have a bird's eye view of what I'm doing. So let's get started. There's the model again. As you can see, I've done a bit. As you might be able to tell, I've given him another dry brush on his scales, the Fenrisian grey I mentioned, so they look even lighter than when I finished him in the last video. Anyhow, I'm going to make a second video on how to dry brush because that last one was so bad, and probably another one on the washing as well. Get the paint out of the pot. And this is Qucik green. Just gonna get a little bit of that out. As you know, as you can see, I'm not getting it into the ferrule of the brush here. Pull this forward a bit. Put the paint on here. Get a little bit of water into it so it's not too thick for me. Right. A bit more. Now, the thing about layering is you're just trying to layer it onto the higher surface, on the higher surfaces of the model, the more raised surfaces of the model, and leave the darker parts dark to give you contrast, make the model look good, and just lighten up the whole model. Now, what I'm going to start off with here is I'll start with some of the sort of the smooth skin on his. Starts on the smooth skin on his sort of his belly here. Just layer it towards the raised bits and try and leave a few sort of darker regions along there, and you want to cover a fair bit because this is the first highlight over a base coat, and so it's sort of setting the tone for the rest of these highlights. Just go over the leg there, but you want to leave all the dark crevices and recesses still very dark, and leave them sort of the Cantor blue that was the base coat. You don't want to go into all the crevices. And just for example, I'll do some of the skin creases on his leg here, as you can see there. He has very creased skin on his leg. Now, I just want to carefully draw it over the raised surfaces without getting into the deep creases on his skin. Just lightly draw it over the top. We'll paint it onto the raised bits, and try to leave the creases fairly dark. You want to leave all the recesses and creases dark while you cover up the majority of the rest of the model, of the parts of the model you want to paint this color. And if you're pretty careful, you can get all the nice creases to stay dark and contrasting to the lighter color you're painting on, and it should look pretty good. If you don't mess up your painting, which can happen. Even with me, I still mess up my painting plenty of times. I have to touch up or redo a stage, and this is only going okay. It's not my best work, but I'm doing this in a bit of a hurry and trying to please the camera, I guess. So back to the front. Let's say we're doing the tail. This is harder than it looks. All right. So just again on the sort of this time, you can see on his feet, just drawing along the raised parts like so. Don't want to get it into all the creases, or there's not much point in highlighting if you're going to just paint into all the creases. The whole point of highlighting is to leave the creases dark, or the deeper, lower, more central parts of the model darker, and paint the raised parts and the edges. And obviously change the color, the way the appearance of the model. So if you're doing highlighting and there's not enough difference between the two colors, then it's not going to look particularly good. Because it's just going to be you're not going to notice the highlight very much. Well, let's start with the head. The head should be a bit easier. Now, when you're painting, like I said, you can go along with the length of the brush, drawing it along with, say, the edges here on the top of his head, like so. Or you can, or you could paint this way and give a certain texture to the strokes, because you don't have to be worried about showing your brush strokes. You can say that's part of the texture of how it's supposed to appear. and space them out, like to give I'm getting sort of a look, sort of a skin sort of look on this, because it's meant to be skin, not scales, on this part of the model. And you can also use it to create the appearance of hairlines or hair texture, which is works pretty good on flat parts of hair for some models. I'm just drawing along there like so. Same sort of deal, and then the same drawing along to give it a sort of a brushstroke texture. It's a bit hacking around the soil, but we'll manage. Now, a bit more water to the paint. Now, that's basically how you do layering. Just pick up the raised bits. You don't have to use a lot of water. And remember the paint is going to dry darker than how it looks when wet. So consider that when you're painting that. You do have to make sure the paints are quite like a significant difference in lightness or color, so that a stage looks good and gives you a different look after you've done it. Because like I said, for a general rule, if you can't tell the difference between models that have had the process and ones that haven't, then it's not a very good process. Just putting it over here, obviously avoiding the nostrils on this guy, and don't want to get in between his lips. Want to leave those bits fairly dark, and paint on the sort of raised parts of his face. Let's see if we can get an eyelid done. Yeah. Right. I'll just get that like so. Carefully paint the eyelid. Yeah, just like that. There we go, painting his eyelids. Oh, that's tough work. I mean, picking out the eyelids, the pupils, those are very fine detail parts. That's more like extreme highlighting, you might say, and trying to get like sort of the curves of his face there, so leave the deeper curves untouched, and then a bit more along here. And that should do for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll keep watching, because with this new technique, the videos will be a lot better in quality, I hope. I'm going to take a look at this after I'm done filming. And enjoy!